Are you ready to pretend like we know what we're doing? Hey, careful of the wall.
Ah! Curled the carpet. Okay. Hi.
I was gonna say, are you ready to act like we know what we're talking about?
Yes.
Sweet. Sure. Are we centered?
No. Hi. I'm Dae.
I'm Ren.
And we're going to talk about our writing processes on different programs. Processes?
Is that the right word?
Processes? I think
Processes?
so. Processes?
Processes? I have a very controversial writing process. I have been told by other writers, for talking about like actual writing process, but it makes sense in my mind, so I feel like I could make it make sense.
If it works for you, it works for you.
Yeah. And then we're also going to talk about programs and stuff like that, what we use in our processes. So, what's your process?
Currently, I am a plotter who is using Google Docs, and I am a very chronological writer. So I have my main points or main plot points that need to be reached, and then I just kind of write from beginning to end.
Do you plot out absolutely everything?
Not everything, I'd say, just like the major points, like the major climax. So sometimes I won't know how they connect necessarily, but for the most part, I plan out everything.
You just jump into the first draft and you just do it.
I do it all the way from beginning to end.
That's crazy to me. Like, that's absolutely insane.
Yeah.
So, I'm just curious, because I don't remember actually, but also so viewers know, but before your current series that you're working on, did you ever complete any other series before this? Or like
not any series. I had planned out some books, but I just finished like the first one and then never continued.
Okay. But you had the same process for those earlier like single books too?
Yes.
Wow. I had a lot more trial and error, like for sure. So when I first started writing when I was younger, I would start a story and I would never finish them because I didn't plan. I just like wrote what I wanted to write. But I always did NaNoWriMo, which is National Novel Writing Month. We don't do that anymore. That's controversial. But I was a big part of that. I did that for 13 years. And I won 11 out of those 13 years, I'm pretty sure, if I remember. And I started when I was 11, I think. Like, it was like 11 to 25, or I don't know, anyways. I did it for a long time. And so when I did it, I was like grade 9 and younger the first couple of years. So I just wrote whatever I wanted to write, and I just spackled it all together, or more commonly for the first couple of years, I dropped the project entirely. And it was just an exercise of getting stuff done. My first book that I wrote is not vampire. You put my mind on vampires. Was the zombie apocalypse book. It's called A Future to Die For. I wrote it when I was 15. She's read it. It was one draft, 1 month. I just wrote it. Again, I didn't write it chronologically, and then I spackled it together. I didn't know how to end it. I gave it a terrible, abrupt ending, and then I never touched it again.
Yeah, that was a ride.
But you read it in one sitting, didn't you?
Yeah, I did.
And it was 50,000 words, because that's what a NaNoWriMo book was, right? So I did that in 1 month. I wrote that book in a month. That's why it's terrible.
Crazy.
And then after that, I worked on the same series called Storm of the Fallen for 7 years. 1 book. Third book exists. Like, it's called Storm of the Fallen, Queens of Chaos. No, it's the third one. It's the second one. I don't even remember. Anyways, and yeah, I had this big idea, but I kept changing it. Like, the first time I wrote the story, I ended up swapping who had magic and who didn't have magic. Like, I literally rewrote the whole book, just being like, this character has magic, this one doesn't. Why? Like, it served no purpose. And again, I was kind of like writing, spackling shit together, and then filling in the plot holes later and never quite pinpointing it and figuring it out. And that's kind of why at the end I've never like published that novel, even though I spent 7 years on it. Because I think the writing quality is really good, but I think the plot needs work. And it's basically every single stereotypical YA fantasy trope, from a tournament to an assassin to she kills his dad, like
Wow.
she kills king, like so much stuff. It's just full of tropes. So I've dropped it, but I'd like to pick it up one day. And then so by then, I had so many trial and errors that when I started my my first book, like my debut, I actually like knew what I was doing, or at least knew what worked for me, I guess. And I've kept the same, like, with the first book in the series, Tidebound, the sequel, Tidekeeper, and now my current book that I'm just starting right now, I'm doing the exact same thing. And I start with what I call a zero draft, and I just write vibes. No plot, just vibes. And it's me discovering the characters. Once I know the characters and I know the plot, that zero draft could be anywhere from like 10 to 40,000 words. Honestly, it depends on how much I get into it. But I think for Tidebound it was 40,000. But then I wrote that in 2022, and then I picked it up last, like 2023, when I decided to publish the book. My current book, I only had about 10,000 in the zero draft before I started writing chronologically. So I do write chronologically now. I learned from my mistakes.
I just find it avoids problems.
It does. And you can always write stuff in later. Like, I think the reason I never did it before is because I always wanted to skip to the scenes that excited me, but then once I wrote them, I would never go back to them. Because I wrote the fun part. What else was there? Just work.
Yeah.
Like, so
And
now
that
I...
made it sound good.
Yeah, so now I write chronologically. I will still write the full draft up front, and I tend to get through the first draft pretty quickly. Revisions take me ages, though, because she plots everything. I'm kind of in the middle. I plot probably about the first 50% of my book, and then I know my final picture, like not even the ending of the book, but the epilogue, kind of. Like I know where I want them to be in the future after the novel's over, and after that I don't know anything until I start writing. And like I'll be writing like chapter 5, and something that I place in chapter 5 will give me inspiration for writing chapter 25. And then that's kind of how I can't think of everything up front, and that's the part that people think is wild. I don't know my endings. But
yeah, I always write a book knowing my ending.
Feels boring to me. Like, if I know where I'm going, why do I have to get there?
Because it's the middle part that matters, not necessarily the end.
I struggle with it. I can't make it make sense, but yeah, I do a lot of revisions, though. Because I don't know my endings, so I have to go... it does cause some plot holes, for sure. Less plot holes, actually, and just more like, I just need to add stuff in. Like, my first draft will always be shorter. I think Tidebound's first draft was 80,000 words, and the final was 125. So I added 45,000 words to revisions. It's just a lot.
That is a lot.
Oh, I added a whole section. Like, my first drafts are the skeleton.
No.
Yeah.
Okay.
When it comes to writing programs, I hate Google Docs with a passion.
I like Google Docs. I don't like everything about Google Docs, but it's what I've been using. So.
My thing with Google Docs is I find I don't like having to scroll through it to find where I want, like unless I set up the table of contents really well, but I don't tend to.
Oh, I set up a table of contents, so just click. It brings me to where I am.
Mm-hmm.
And I use the same template every time, so I just copy the next stop and just get started.
Yeah. I use Scrivener mostly just because I've used Scrivener my whole life. I bought it back some year in Nano. They had like a 50% off deal. So I bought it in like 2014, 2015. And then when the newest version came out, they gave it to me for like $20 or something. Like super cheap. So I've been using it my whole life. But I think if I was sitting down to start writing right now, I would not use it. It's a lot.
I think that's one of the reasons why I never did it. One, because of money, and two, like, the program just seemed really, really overwhelming from like a user standpoint.
Mm-hmm. I think the first couple years I used it in like the most simplistic version. And then I finally watched some YouTube videos and learned about it, and I've added stuff. What I love about Scrivener is the revision mode, so you can write, and then when you're doing revisions, since I do such heavy ones, you can change it so that the font is a different color automatically, and then it shows you like where you scratched it out or where you added it, and like there's a couple different versions of it. And I just love seeing, I'm a very progress-minded person, so I love seeing what I did in every draft and what's original, what's been changed. And I do definitely, when I'm doing my revisions, I bounce around a lot, so that helps me keep track of what I haven't done, too. So I really like that. I really like the word track, or like the word count trackers and goals and stuff like that. But what I don't like is the fact that like importing pictures and columns or anything that's more world building, planning, research is really clunky and sucks. So I always felt like I needed a different app for that. It's also not cross compatible. I think it might be a Mac, but I don't use Mac. So you'd have to like buy the app. And I feel like you'd have to buy the app on the computer, buy it on the phone, and then have them be cross compatible, which is really stupid. The only other program I use for writing is I use, what's it called right now? Simple Note. It's just like a free note-taking app, and it's cross-compatible between phone and computer and stuff. And I use that between my phone, my computer, my laptop, because I have two computers technically. If I'm at work, writing on my lunch, I can just access wherever I am, and super duper handy for me. I love it. It's also distraction free. And then I tend to work in that, and then once I finish a chapter, I slop it. I slop it into Scrivener, and then it's there where it's more organized, and then I can do my revisions on Scrivener. I've also heard really, really good things about Readsy.
Same, but again, overwhelmed when I signed up for it.
That's fair.
Yeah, I didn't know where to start.
Well, that's the thing is there's the Readsy app, and then there's the Readsy editor, and the Readsy app is a marketplace to find
Not bad.
our friends in the corner. He just knocks stuff off the floor. But yeah, so there's the Readsy marketplace and then Readsy editor. And when you open up the Readsy website, it does not immediately take you to the editor, which annoys me. Like it needs to be like a completely different website or something. But I really like how the goals work in Readsy. I really like the fact that they have like a timeline, like you can plop your characters in and set up a timeline, which is really cool. I don't like the writing interface. I think it's just distracting. There's too much going on.
Yeah, and I think that's another reason why I didn't like it. Like, I did enjoy the note taking and like the world building aspects, but writing within the space of Readsy was just too much for me.
Like Simple Note is just simple.
And I just like Google Docs because that's what I've worked with my whole life.
Also simple. At the end
Also
of the day.
simple at the end of the day.
Yeah. Tried a lot of other programs. I cannot think of what they're called right now.
Helpful.
Super helpful. It's not a writing program, but there's a game called For the Words that I occasionally obsess over. And my goal in October is to write at least every single day. I would like to hit 1,000 words a day, but honestly, as long as I sit down and write, I'm happy. I try. And For the Words is really, really good for that. And it is basically an RPG game where you write and you win quests and you fight monsters. So when you fight monsters, you like get their items and then you can sell their items. It's a game. It's literally a massive game.
And I might need to get this game.
I can show it to you. The first 30 days are free. After that, it's $5 a month. So it is subscription based, but it is so much fun. And again, I don't write in it because I get distracted because there's so much going on. So whenever I'm doing like a monster that's a timer based, or like you have to write like 1,000 words to kill the bee or whatever, I write it in my Simple Note app, and then I just copy and paste it over and it counts it. I've also definitely cheated in that game so many times because sometimes there'll be a quest and it's like kill 20 assassins. Assassins are 1,000 words each. So that quest is to write 20,000 freaking words. My friend's gonna watch this, and she's gonna know exactly what quest I'm talking about. It's in the desert section of the game, and it sucks. We both skipped it. You just copy and paste and just kill a whole bunch of assassins, and then you move on to your another quest, and then you reset your word count for the day, so it doesn't actually register. It's a whole process.
That's not like a whole process.
It's a really fun game. I recommend if you're into productivity stuff. I also like a few productivity, not writing, they're technically study apps, but there's ITHYCA, or ITHYCA? ITHYCA. Maybe it is. Anyways, it's by the composer and illustrator Blue Turtle. He has a productivity fantasy life game, and it's basically just really nice music that he composes, the really pretty drawings that he drew, and you just do little word sprints in there. And there's also Spirit City, which is very similar, but more like lo-fi focused and not fantasy focused. And I love those games. I like games.
Yeah, because like you guys also do all the writing sprints and stuff on your Discord too, so.
Mm-hmm. So it's a game.
Yeah, I can't
It's a
force
challenge.
myself to write.
I'm very competitive. But I grew up writing that way because I was doing Nano, so the goal was to hit 50,000, and we had so many, like, if you were in that space, like, you'd know, like, about writing crawls and sprints. Like, there's writing challenge where it's like you'd write, do a bunch of sprints back to back. You write 100 words as fast as possible, 200, 300, 500, 600, up to 1,000, and then down. At the end of it, you've got, like, 6,000 words or something. It's gamifying it so you don't actually realize how much you're doing in the end.
Yeah.
And it's all mind tricks, honestly. And I need those mind tricks. The fastest I've ever wrote 1,000 words was in 12 minutes.
That's insane.
It was horrible. I was like 14. It was the worst writing I've ever done in my life. But I did it. Because I'm competitive. You got anything to add?
Not really.
You and Google Docs against the world?
It's just me and Google Docs against the world. I don't know. I just like the way that it separates everything. And I saw someone set it up on TikTok once, and I just haven't changed it. I know the margins are off. It's really it, and my indents are too far in. Other than that, that's the only things I have to change. The only thing I can't figure out is I want my name and then the title of the book to like alternate on the headers. But for some reason, Google Docs is like, you can't do that. So that's my biggest gripe. But I do like the word count functions and the tab functions, and at the end of it, I can just put insert table of contents, and it tells the page number and it's done.
See, but you probably used Google Docs for school.
Yeah.
I didn't.
I did.
So that makes sense. Yeah.
But yeah,
That's all she wrote.
that's all we wrote
For now.
for now. Yeah, I don't know. Dump your favorite programs in the comments. Peace.
We really need to work on our outros.
Our outros are so bad.
Processes? I took you my processes. That's how it sounded to me.